Esta es una célula, la unidad básica de cualquier tejido viviente. El núcleo contiene el genoma. En los humanos, el genoma está dividido en 23 pares de cromosomas. Cada cromosoma contiene una larga cadena de ADN. Dentro del ADN hay secciones llamadas genes. La mutagénesis insercional es una mutación causada por la introducción de ADN extraño en un gen. La inserción puede causar mutaciones. La siguiente declaración de la doctora Teresa Deicher explica que esto es lo que está ocurriendo con las vacunas que están usando líneas celulares de fetos humanos abortados, causando trastornos autistas, leucemia y linfoma, además de discapacidad intelectual, esquizofrenia, trastorno bipolar.
Correct. So the vaccines don't have human fetal tissue in them. They have debris from the human fetal cell line that was used to manufacture them.
Okay.
When you make a vaccine or when you make a biologic drug, it's really expensive to make them in a test tube. And so we mimic nature's way to do that, and we make them in a cell. And then we try to purify the drug away from the cell. But that purification process is never 100%. And that's because your yield would be so low, you wouldn't be able to sell your drug. So there's leftover DNA from the cell line and cellular debris. So when we use a hamster cell, there's some hamster DNA. But a hamster is a hamster. It's not human. And we recognize it as foreign and eliminate it. Mm-hmm. It's not human DNA, and it's not decorated like a human decorates their DNA. So,
okay.
And the decoration is absolutely species specific. Okay. Humans decorate their DNA one way, hamsters decorate them another way, and the two never meet, right?
Yep.
So when we go to using a human cell, we have human DNA in our final product. And that human DNA is human and has the potential. It's well documented science. If I were to bring in all the papers, there'd be stacks this high, hundreds and hundreds of papers from gene therapy and biology and immunology establishing this. It can cause autoimmunity, and it can be readily taken up by adult stem cells. For whatever reason, they readily take up DNA fragments and insert into the genome and cause mutations. You can have a mutation in one stem cell that can affect 60, 70, 85% of the blood cells in your body, because the way our blood system is set up, there are 8 stem cells that replicate themselves and then make all of the blood cells in our body. And usually one is dominant. So a mutation in a stem cell could lead to, general autoimmune disease, general dysfunction, because that stem cell makes the cells in your body that regulate immunity, including in your brain.
Wow.
So we have been investigating that. And when you look at autism, there are distinct years where autism will suddenly jump the curve of its rise. It's called a change point. And when we look at change points in different countries all over the world, they are always, so far, associated with the introduction of a human fetal manufactured vaccine. And the more children who are vaccinated with it, the prevalence continues to go up. So the disease, all diseases are complex, and I believe thimerosal can contribute and aluminum can contribute. And I believe that Dr. Wakefield's concern about the measles virus being retained in the gut can certainly contribute and is part of this complex biology and pathology that we're seeing in children. Mm-hmm. But we're really focused on the fetal contaminants because it is the only vaccine change that is universally and temporarily associated with these change points. In humanitarian vaccination campaigns with the MMR and in Mexico. And after those campaigns, those children started getting leukemias and lymphomas that were unheard of in those areas before. So I did a little research, and there is indeed elevations in childhood cancers. And I believe that the cancer increase is very strongly linked to the chickenpox, which is so heavily contaminated. There is more contaminating DNA in that vaccine than viral DNA. The data actually very clearly supported that there was a change point around 1988 and right when he was doing this work. And what really hit me was the only thing that had changed, that's when they changed the manufacturing from animal to fetal. And we took a quick look around the world, and it seemed to hold up. The connection, it is so overwhelming.
Muchas vacunas tienen residuos de líneas celulares humanas de fetos humanos abortados, que se utilizan durante el proceso de fabricación. Después de numerosos intentos fallidos, experimentando con líneas celulares del pulmón, riñón, corazón, tiroides, hígado y otros tejidos, se utilizaron 38 abortos para el desarrollo y producción de vacunas. Los investigadores usaron un tejido del pulmón de un feto de 3 meses para cultivar virus vivos para las vacunas, dándole el nombre de WI38. Este ha sido desde entonces un recurso para millones de vacunas hasta la fecha. Poco después, un segundo feto abortado se utilizó en Gran Bretaña con el nombre de MRC5, extraída del tejido pulmonar de un feto de 14 semanas abortado por razones psiquiátricas, según los investigadores. Más adelante, luego de experimentar en tejidos de 27 abortos separados, el Winstar RA273, virus de la rubiola, que actualmente se usa en 7 vacunas, fue derivado de la disección de órganos de un feto abortado quirúrgicamente. En total, más de 80 abortos estuvieron involucrados en la investigación y producción final de la vacuna contra la rubiola. Esto se puede ver en la lista de ingredientes publicada en el sitio del Centro del Control de Enfermedades, CDC.
Do any of the vaccines on the childhood schedule contain monkey kidney cells?
Well, the polio vaccine does.
Are you aware of any simian, monkey, viruses, meaning viruses that come from primates, that contaminated polio vaccines and infected individuals receiving the polio vaccine?
Yes, SV40,
Okay. And what does SV40 stand for?
simian virus 40.
Okay. And was it the 40th simian virus found? Is that why
Yes.
it's called? Are you aware of any virus from any animal other than simian or bovine that is in any vaccine?
Yes, there's a pig virus present in one of the rotavirus vaccines, circovirus.
Do any vaccines on the childhood vaccine schedule contain MRC5 human diploid cells?
Yes, rubella, varicella, hepatitis A.
What are MRC5 cells?
They are human fibroblast cell strain. They were created by taking fetal tissue and from a particular fetus that was aborted by maternal choice, and the cells, the so-called fibroblast cells, were cultivated.
Do any vaccines on the childhood vaccine schedule contain WI38 human diploid lung fibroblasts?
Well, they used to, but I don't think anything is made in those cells anymore.
If you could turn to page 3 for MMR and MMRV, do you see that within the ingredient list that lists WI38 human diploid lung fibroblasts?
Yes, I do see that.
Isn't it true that human DNA in vaccines is typically purposely fragmented?
Yes, and I would say mostly for theoretical reasons, doesn't want to put DNA into intact DNA into vaccines.
Familiar with insertional mutagenesis?
Yes.
Do you have any study to show that injecting millions of pieces of human DNA into babies and children is safe?
The only studies are all the safety studies that have been done on vaccines.
Wasn't the purpose of this study to help develop a human cell line or to support the use of human cell lines in the creation of vaccines?
The idea was to study the cell strains from fetuses to determine whether or not they could be used to make vaccines.
This study involved 74 fetuses.
76.
76. And these fetuses were all 3 months or older when aborted, correct?
Yes.
What organs did you harvest from these fetuses?
Well, I didn't personally harvest any, but a whole range of tissues were harvested by co-workers.
Okay. And these pieces were then cut up into little pieces, right?
Yes.
And they were cultured?
Yes.
Okay. Some of the pieces of the fetuses were pituitary gland that were chopped up into pieces to okay, included the lung of the fetuses?
Yes.
Okay, included the skin,
Yes.
kidney,
Yes.
spleen,
Yes.
heart,
Yes.
and tongue.
I don't recall, but yeah, probably yes.
When you were a child, what vaccines did you receive?
Diphtheria. In childhood, I think it was probably only diphtheria.
Si vamos al buscador y ponemos CDC Vaccine Ingredients, que se refiere a CDC por el Centro Control de Enfermedades, ingredientes de vacunas, vamos a ubicar entre los resultados este que dice excipientes, más adelante tabla 2. Acá está la lista de todas las vacunas con sus ingredientes y al comienzo una breve explicación sobre los antígenos, que son virus o bacterias, los conservantes para prevenir la contaminación, por ejemplo timerosal, que es mercurio muy neurotóxico, ayudantes para ayudar a estimular una respuesta inmune más fuerte, como el aluminio, también neurotóxico, estabilizadores como gelatinas, otras trazas residuales de materiales que se usaron durante el proceso de fabricación, como materiales de cultivo celular de fetos humanos abortados, riñón de mono, proteína de huevo, ingredientes utilizados para matar virus, por ejemplo formaldehído, y antibióticos para prevenir la contaminación por bacteria como neomicina. La siguiente tabla enumera todos los componentes de las diferentes vacunas. Hemos puesto color a alguno de estos para demostrar que se encuentran en la mayoría de las vacunas y son productos considerados tóxicos y o mutagénicos. Para comprobar la toxicidad del polisorbato 80, por ejemplo, tenemos que ir al sitio web de sciencelab.com. Una vez aquí, vamos al link Chemicals MSDS Listing y entramos al listado de la seguridad de los diferentes productos o materiales. De ahí nos vamos a la letra P y encontramos polisorbato 80. Hacemos clic para ver los estudios sobre este y en la sección de información sobre toxicidad dice: puede causar efectos reproductivos adversos basados en datos de pruebas con animales. Luego dice, puede causar cáncer basado en animales, puede afectar el material genético, o sea que es mutagénico, es decir, cambia la información genética. Y agrega, no se han encontrado estudios con humanos. Si alguien quiere más información, puede ir al sitio del Centro Nacional de Información Biotecnológica, con siglas NCBI, y en este sitio hay un link que va a PubMed. PubMed significa publicaciones médicas. En este caso tenemos el nombre del estudio, lo ponemos en el buscador del sitio de PubMed y acá está uno de los estudios que demuestra los problemas del polisorbato 80 que encontramos en el documento anterior sobre efectos reproductivos adversos. Volviendo a los ingredientes, estos son los de la vacuna contra sarampión, paperas y rubiola, MMR. Vemos que utilizan líneas de células de fetos humanos abortados. Esta es la lista de vacunas que utilizan estos ingredientes, es decir, vacunas que utilizan líneas de células fetales humanas. El gobierno quiere hacer imposible evitar ser inyectado con líneas celulares de tejido fetal humano abortado, cosa que es moralmente o religiosamente contra la conciencia de muchos. Esto lo quieren exigir por ley, que es contraria a la Constitución. Además, está demostrado que estos residuos de ADN de abortos en las vacunas causan cáncer y otra serie de daños a la salud. Las exenciones representan la única barrera y quieren violar la Constitución con una teoría falsa llamada inmunidad del rebaño o inmunidad colectiva, que ya hemos explicado que no tiene fundamentación científica.